System override. Does not compute.
Voice recognition authorized.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the newest edition of 5 by AI, where we discuss different topics. I give out an opinion based on what 5, my AI bot, comes up with. And today it's Kentucky Derby week. That's what we're talking about, the Kentucky Derby. The list is pretty shocking. A lot of it there's a lot of recency. I feel like there's been a lot of bizarre stuff that's happened in the last 10 years. And we're going to discuss it now. Let's check out the video, and then I'll critique it.
They call it the most exciting 2 minutes in sports for a reason. The Kentucky Derby, a spectacle steeped in tradition where elegance meets raw power, has captivated hearts for over a century. But beyond the mint juleps and extravagant hats lies a truth as constant as the twin spires of Churchill Downs. These 2 minutes are a crucible, forging legends and leaving an indelible mark on the sport of kings. Join me as we relive 5 of the most thrilling chapters in Kentucky Derby history races etched in our minds for their unforgettable finishes, shocking upsets, and the legendary stories they inspired. 2019, a year forever etched in Derby lore. Maximum security, a picture of dominance, crosses the finish line first. The crowd erupts, but the celebration is short-lived. An objection is raised, a hush falls over the track, and history takes an unprecedented turn. For the first time ever, the Kentucky Derby winner is disqualified. The replays are analyzed, the tension is palpable, and the racing world watches in disbelief as Country House, a 65-1 long shot, is declared the victor. The controversy, the drama, the sheer improbability of it all, this was a derby for the ages. They say anything can happen at the Kentucky Derby, and in 2009, Mind That Bird embodied that very spirit. A 50-1 long shot, dismissed by many, this unassuming gelding, with the heart of a champion, navigated a muddy track and a crowded field. At the reins, jockey Calvin Burrell, a master of his craft, hugged the rail, a risky move that paid off in glorious fashion. Mind That Bird, a blur of determination, surged past his rivals, leaving the crowd in stunned silence before erupting in a cacophony of cheers. It was a victory for the ages, proving that in the Kentucky Derby, dreams, however improbable, can come true. 1973, a year that, honestly, redefined the boundaries of speed and athleticism. A year that, without a doubt, belonged to Secretariat, a chestnut colt destined for immortality. From the moment he exploded out of the starting gate, Secretariat seemed to just defy the laws of physics. With every stride, he extended his lead, his powerful gait eating up the ground beneath him. The crowd roared, totally captivated by this display of equine brilliance. As he crossed the finish line in a record-shattering finishing time, a legend was born. Secretariat's 1973 Kentucky Derby wasn't just a race, it was a coronation. 2005, a year for the long-shot bettors, a year where, well, fortunes really changed hands. Giacomo, a 50-1 underdog largely ignored in the pre-race hype, found himself amidst a crowded pack as they thundered down the home stretch. Then the unthinkable happened. Giacomo, with a surge of raw power, weaved his way through the pack, his jockey, Mike Smith, urging him forward. The crowd, a sea of astonished faces, watched as Giacomo crossed the finish line, etching his name into Derby lore. 1989. The Kentucky Derby became a stage for one of the most captivating duels in racing history. Sunday Silence versus Easygoer. Two titans of the sport, their rivalry really captivated the nation. As they rounded the final turn, neck and neck, the tension was honestly palpable. The crowd, a chorus of cheers and gasps, watched as these two magnificent animals pushed each other to the limit. In the end, it was Sunday Silence by 2 lengths, and just the beginning of a great rivalry. The image of their epic battle etched in Derby history. The Kentucky Derby, a spectacle that, transcends sport, a tapestry woven with threads of triumph, heartbreak, and the unwavering spirit of competition. As we've journeyed through these 5 unforgettable races, we're reminded that the Derby is more than just a race. It's a testament to the enduring power of dreams, the thrill of the unexpected, and the indelible mark these magnificent animals leave on our hearts. What are your favorite Kentucky Derby memories? Share them in the comments below. And let's keep the spirit of the Run for the Roses alive. Remember, at Churchill Downs on the first Saturday in May, anything is possible.
Wow, that was a cool list. I have many of those. Let's break down Five's list and then we'll go into mine. Okay, everybody, let's talk about the list here. The Kentucky Derby is always a great event. If you guys ever have a chance to maybe go to the Kentucky Derby, I recommend it. Get some good seats, though. The infield is a little crazy. The last time I was in the infield was 1993 when I was in high school. It was hard to actually see a horse. You know, you're looking at 150,000 people. So if you can afford it, I know the ticket prices have gone up a lot more since 1993. Make it to the Derby. It's a good time. If you're not going to be able to make it to the Derby, maybe you guys can do a fun game, like pick names out of a hat, everybody throwing a little bit of money. Or if you have a local OTB, go ahead and bet. If you don't have an OTB, I'll put in a referral link for a advanced wagering site where you can make wagers. Just look for it in the description. All right, so here's the list. This is what Five had. And so these are the most shocking, exciting, or crazy Derby finishes. That's the criteria. They came up with maximum security, the DQ in 2019, followed by Mind That Bird. I remember saying, whoa, everybody was quiet when that horse won. I had to check my program, like, who the hell is that? I guess the mud really moved him up. He did come back and run well in the Preakness, where Rachel Alexandra beat him by about half a length. The 1973 Derby with Secretariat is a track record in 159 and 2/5 seconds. You know, I don't know if I have it on my top 5 for most exciting or crazy or shocking. I guess the shock factor would be the track record. I will note, though, that particular year, if Secretariat was not in the race, Sham would have been the track record holder, probably in 159 and 4 right now, tied with Monarchos. And he actually galloped out better than Secretariat if you go back and watch the replay of that race. I know it's blasphemy to talk about Secretariat. Shoot me. In 05, is that 05 or 06? It was 05. Giacomo winning that race. I do have this one on my list, and it's for a particular reason. And then the number one on the list for AI was the Sunday Silence, an easy goer race. It honestly, Sunday Silence won the race relatively easy, and it wasn't like a crazy. They're all exciting races, but it wasn't like out of the ordinary for a Kentucky Derby. I think AI picked up on the actual rivalry for the other two races, and that's probably why they picked it number one. But, you know, they had it number one. It didn't make my list, but it was a good Derby nonetheless. Let's see what I come up with.
Over at the head of the stretch. Seattle Slew moving away. Now opens 2.5. Run Dusty Run driving up on the outside into second. Steve's friend. Here's Sanhedrin now closing also along the inside. Coming to the wire. Seattle Slew opens it to 4 lengths. At the finish, it's going to be Seattle Slew, and he's going along easily. He wins it by about 2 lengths. Run Dusty Run is second.
Okay, guys, so at number 5 is Seattle Slew. Seattle Slew, for me, is a horse that kind of really originally got me into horse racing. My dad was a big fan of Seattle Slew. I used to check out books in the library when I was a kid about Seattle Slew. Of course, he was before my time. I was just a small baby when he won the Kentucky Derby. But he was kind of like an icon. You know, Secretariat won the Triple Crown. People were clamoring for another one. And Seattle Slew was undefeated going into the Kentucky Derby and won the race. If you go back and watch that race, he didn't break clean. They set really fast fractions. They went 45 and change. He was in the speed duel throughout, and then he won going away. The horse that was in the speed duel with him just faded off into oblivion. And he's probably my favorite horse of all time. At least one of my top 3 for sure. And Seattle Slew, just for sentimental value and, you know, because my dad liked it, I got him on my list. And I want to show you this. So I have this cool plaque or picture. There's a glare, but anyway, it's Seattle Slew. I have all 3 win tickets from the Triple Crown. It's a cool piece. It's a piece of history, and it's hanging on my wall. You don't really get to see it. Maybe I'll switch things up back here so you can see it. If you guys look over my shoulder, I've got Seattle Slew, the win tickets, on my wall, so you guys can see it from now on.
Here comes a fleet, Alex, catching from between horses. Away.
A fleet Alex is flying.
Don't get mad, late charge on the far outside.
Giacomo, where's he at? Giacomo.
In the blue, coming down to the finish, closing argument short lead. Giacomo, a fleet Alex.
Giacomo. Get it.
It's a 3-horse photo finish.
Get it.
Ken, and on the wire, it's Giacomo.
What?
So it is Giacomo, the winner of the Derby, and the second biggest long shot in the 131-year history of this race.
What? What I tell you? You didn't tell me.
That was the 2005 Kentucky Derby, Giacomo, and I remember when that happened. I was actually watching TVG when that did happen. Funny story on that. I went to the Dairyland dog track in Kenosha and, you know, bet a bunch of races. I didn't have really an advanced wagering site. There was Xpressbet at the time, but I didn't really have it. And I made all my bets over there, and my uncle was in town, my Uncle Joe Diorio. And he said he liked Giacomo. Probably it's an Italian name. And I poo-pooed it. I'm like, that horse ain't got no chance. Sure enough, the damn thing won at 50-1. And I looked at his face after the race, and I felt so bad. But I wanted to... it was a shock. To me, I was just blown away. And the thing with Ken Rudolph was crazy watching that. And then just everything with my uncle. So it makes my list at number 4. It was really crazy watching it because I did have closing argument on a lot of my tickets that day. I just didn't have Giacomo. And as you can see, the exact, I paid $9,814. That is just insane. And I don't know. Me and my uncle hanging out at the OTB, grabbing the tickets, watching Ken Rudolph talk about it. Of course, he was bringing all that stuff up after I made all my bets. Not saying I would have piggybacked and threw it in there, but I don't know. I was blown away. I was shocked, and it makes my list. Guys, number 3 on my list is going to be Mandaloun. Now, this is more for me. The race itself, it was just an okay race. Mandaloun ran a really big race. I picked Mandaloun to win. I would have won trifectas, doubles, exactas, everything. Win bet, he was 20-1, and he runs second, but he was awarded first place 9 months later because of a disqualification for illegal substances by Bob Baffert on Medina Spirit, who actually won the Kentucky Derby that year. there's a photo of both of them, Medina Spirit in the red hat, and there's Mandaloun number 7. And this is more for me just because how upset I was that he didn't get up in time, and then learning later that even though Medina Spirit was disqualified, you can't go back and get a refund on your tickets or get awarded. So kind of unfortunate, but this race makes it number 3 on my list.
Side. Sandon gets the rail run, and they're into the stretch. And it's Messier, Crown Pride, then Epicenter is coming up on the outside. Epicenter has taken the lead as they arrive into the final furlong. Sandon is coming after him. Epicenter and Sandon, these two, stride for stride. Simplification down the outside is next. They're coming down to the wire. Epicenter, Sandon, Rich Strike is coming up on the inside. Oh my goodness, the longest shot has won the Kentucky Derby. Rich Strike has done it in a stunning, unbelievable upset.
You know, Mind That Bird, as you saw in the AI video, was a shocker. It was kind of weird, though, that year. It was muddy. Came up a rail, he won. It was pretty shocking, but you go back and look at the horse, maybe it had a couple of races you could point to, and it looked like at least underneath chugger for a super. This horse made 0 sense. I'm still blown away to this day that this horse won. Now, you go back and look at that Derby, Epicenter, a few others. They were just okay horses. It wasn't. I feel like the Derby in 2025 is has way more talent than the one in 2022. But at the same time, when you look at this horse, you know, you looked at its PPs, it was just a complete mystery. There's no way in hell I could have gotten to the horse. I saw somebody on Twitter like bet it, and I'm like, it had to be one of those guys that puts like $5 to win on each horse or something, because I don't know how you get to this horse. It got in from the also eligible list. For instance, this year Baeza is on the also eligible list. He's on, number 21, but he is light years better than this horse and would have a good shot to hit the board in the Kentucky Derby. This one here, it just made no sense. He broke his maiden at Churchill, albeit, but it was a maiden claiming race. He didn't win any other races his whole 3-year-old season until the Kentucky Derby, where he paid $163, and then he never won a race ever again. And it's just one of those things that when you look at if you look at the sheets, Thorograph, buyer speed figures, the eye test, just naked classic DRF PPs, it's like, how do you come up with this horse? Anyway, for me, this was shocking. And even worse than Mind That Bird, my jaw was just like, I just couldn't believe it. I was just blown away.
Continues to lead the way. Midway on the far turn. He's a length and a half in front. War of Will is second. Long Range Toddy third, and 4 wide and moving up is Country House's Pony Express plummets through the field. And here comes Code of Honor, and he bursts through an opening on the inside of Maximum Security, and they're into the stretch. Country House on the outside. Code of Honor down toward the rail. Maximum Security keeps on fighting. War of Will is there too as they come to the final furlong. It is Country House on the outside. Maximum Security is so dead game. He keeps battling on. Maximum Security. Country House 1-2 down to the line. Maximum Security wins the Kentucky Derby. And then it was.
Whoa, we got to talk about this, guys.
The 3 furlong pole, the green and white pole.
Yeah, watch this
right now. War of Will, the horse with the white.
They'll move out 3 paths.
Directly in behind the horse with the pink silks. Maximum secured. Now he has a lane to run, so his jockey is taking him outside of Luis Saez and Maximum Security.
Right here.
Right there is where number 7, Maximum Security, came out a lane or two, forcing War of Will to steady.
So, guys, this is going to be my number 1 shocker of all time. It was the first disqualification in Kentucky Derby history. And I had War of Will that day. I was vindicated in the Preakness. I felt like Tyler Gaffleone, if he would have just stayed on the rail. You saw, I think, the 13 horse get the rail. Of course, he didn't know, that he was going to dart out that much. But I thought if he was just slightly more patient, it would have parted like the Red Sea and he could have just came up that rail. He didn't. Maximum Security did come out, clipped his heel. I think he had a gash on his leg, according to Mark Cassie, if I do remember correctly. And other weird stuff with this horse, trainer John Service later served 4 years in jail for doping violations. And it must have been pretty serious to serve time. It was a shocking development. Maximum Security was a really good racehorse, and I think Saez was on him and didn't keep him straight, and they DQ'd him. Country House got put up. He was 65-1. I think my buddy Justin Dew had that horse at the time. But man, it's horse racing's crazy. I feel like all of this stuff, it seems like it's all new. It's like if you look at my list compared to AI, Seattle Slew, for reasons I said before, it's a sentimental pick, undefeated Triple Crown winner. Giacomo, we talked about that. Mandaloun later became the Kentucky Derby winner, even though he ran second. And even though that I bet him, I don't get my win bet. Rich Strike, just the most improbable Kentucky Derby in the history of the race. I just don't know how anybody ever got to that horse. And of course, what you just saw with Maximum Security being disqualified. Obviously, some of these hit me hard, like I say here. Hit me hard in my wallet. Now looking back at this, I've had a lot of bad luck here. But horse racing's fun, guys. We have a great race this weekend in 2025. I'd like to know who you like. Here is the post positions and odds for the Kentucky Derby 151. And I don't have my pick yet. I have 4 horses that I really like. I think Sovereignty, in my opinion, is the most likely winner. Everybody's going to say journalism for good reason. I just wonder about the big field and running fast twice. Sovereignty likes to track, has done his best work at Churchill. And he's coming into the race good. He ran second in the Florida where he didn't need to win that race. And I think he's coming into this race really good. I do like the Japanese Invader Luxor Cafe. Watch a replay of his last overseas. It was pretty impressive. Grande is interesting at 20-1 in the 10 hole. And my bomb, another bomb anyway, is Publisher. Everybody's on Sandman, but I think Publisher at 1.25 miles might finally get the better of him at the very least, and maybe can round out the trifecta or the superfecta at 30-1. Thanks for joining in to my newest episode of 5 by AI. I thought I had a good list here along with what 5 came up with. The Kentucky Derby is a fun time. Enjoy it. Get your bets down and cash some tickets. Hope to see you guys soon, and look for other videos.